Hare Krishna, everyone. In this session, we're going to look at a very nice story by Srila Prabhupada, which is very instructive. It's a story I always remember from time to time, especially when things are difficult. It's a story about two frogs. Once there were two frogs who, by accident, fell into a pot of milk. So obviously they tried to struggle, try to swim to the best of their abilities so they wouldn't drown. So they tried to swim. They struggled for a while to keep afloat. And after some time, one of the frogs gave up hope. He thought, oh, it's useless. What's the point? I keep struggling. There's no way I can get out of this situation. I don't know how to swim. So that frog, he just gave up. And what happened is, obviously, he drowned and he died. But the other frog, he was more determined. And he just kept kicking and kicking and kicking. And something wonderful happened. So as he kicked and kicked and kicked, because it was fresh milk that had just come from the cow, the milk turned into butter. And then that determined frog, he was saved because he could stand on the hard butter and jump out of that pot. So the moral of the story is that we should not give up. Sometimes we may find ourselves in some situation where we think it's hopeless. So we are struggling and struggling and struggling for some time. Then we're thinking, oh, it's hopeless. We shouldn't give up like that frog. So in spiritual life, sometimes we find it very difficult, or we think, what's the use if keep struggling, carrying out austerities? I'm not seeing the results. But we should not give up. We should not give up our sadhana, our Krishna consciousness, even if it's difficult sometimes. We should be like that frog who just kept struggling and struggling. And Krishna, he will see our sincerity and our perseverance, and he will help us in our spiritual life. He will not abandon us. It's just a question of how badly we want to progress and what our determination is like. And that's what Krishna wants to see. So in the practice of bhakti yoga, of course there are maybe difficulties, but if anyone follows the principles of bhakti with great determination, then the Lord will help. Because there is a saying that says that God will only help those who help themselves. So that's a very nice story. Actually, there's another story that comes to mind. It's a story from the Bhagavad Gita, the story of Garud and the sparrow. So regarding determination, we should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. So there's a story that a sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves, and so the sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and obviously everybody laughed at her for her impossible determination. They were saying, what could a little sparrow like you do to the ocean? This is stupid. You should stop that. It's ridiculous. You're too weak. What is the ocean next to you, a little sparrow? But that sparrow never gave up. And with time, the news of her determination, her activities spread. And at last, Garud, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garud was very pleased by the determination of this small sparrow, and he promised to help her. So Garud at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, threatening that if the ocean didn't do that, then he himself would take up the work of the sparrow. Now Garud he's the carrier of Lord Vishnu. He's very powerful, and so the ocean was very frightened, and obviously the ocean didn't want to ruffle the feathers of Garud. So quickly the ocean returned the eggs to the sparrow. And the sparrow became very happy by the grace of Garud. So we can see how determination always pays off. So we should never give up. Follow the principles of bhakti. Follow the instructions of the acharyas. Keep chanting, and the Lord will notice us, just like Garud noticed the sparrow, and then the Lord will help us and be pleased with us. So that's a very, very nice story to remind ourselves never to give up our bhakti.